Well, Bhante, I saw the picture of you meditating on the stream, and I noticed you still sit in full lotus.
Yes.
Oh, Bhante, I saw the picture of you meditating on the stream, and
Bhante
I
Gunaratana at the
noticed you
Bhavan
still sit
Society.
in full lotus.
He's 98 years old. I think he still sits in the
Yes.
lotus.
Oh, Bhante, I saw the
Uh-oh.
picture of you meditating on the stream, and
Bhante
I
Trying to
noticed
get
you
rid
still.
of this thing. That ad there, it's blocking my ability to remove that.
Click on no thanks.
See, this is, I want to delete this, pause this thing.
He's 98.
You want this just out of view?
Yeah, I want this one. Okay. I'm sorry about that, interrupt your question. Okay, friends, so let's go ahead and start by reciting the Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like to join. Excuse me, let me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. So good evening, friends. Welcome to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. So tonight we're going to kind of finish up on our talk about the five aggregates of clinging. And the last couple of weeks we've been going over and discussing each of the five aggregates, the material form aggregate, the feelings aggregate, the perceptions, and the volitional formations, those aggregates of Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, and Sankhara. And these are the elements of the body and the mental process. And actually we included consciousness also. So form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. And those are the elements of our body-mind experience, which are coming through the senses. And they're constantly changing every moment of mind moment. They arise with each moment of contact, all those material vibrations, the feeling that comes with it, the perceptions that the mind creates out of them, that means turning vibrations into mental words and pictures. And then our reactions to it, either liking or disliking, what we our seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or thinking. And then the consciousness is sort of like the bubble which those things are happening within. So the consciousness is the cognition, the knowing faculty. And without consciousness, we wouldn't be aware of the rest of those aggregates. So tonight I was going to read some suttas, because there's a whole text in the Buddhist canon called the Samyutta Nikaya and the Kanda Vagga, which has hundreds of suttas, explaining the five aggregates in different ways. And a lot of people don't read these sutras because they're not the big ones like Satipatthana Sutta or Anatta Lakkhana Sutta and so on. And so a lot of people don't hear the nice way that the Buddha used to describe the functions of these aggregates and how we cling on to them. Now they're called the five aggregates of clinging, or the Panch Upadana Kanda. And an aggregate means a collection. So they're the collection of all the forms that we've ever experienced, all the feelings that we've experienced with these forms, and all the recognitions or the perceptions connected with these material vibrations, and the reactions to them, millions and millions and millions of them, even in this one lifetime. And so that's called an aggregate, the collection of all these things. That's why you can remember the past, because you can go in the past and said, when I was 5 years old, I had this material form. Look, you have a photograph when you were 5 years old. And it showed you, whatever you looked like at 5 years old, or 10 years old, or 15 years old. And you can remember, anything you've experienced, whether you fell off a bicycle when you were 7 and got a scratch, or broke your leg, or anything else. All these things have been remembered in the mind. And most of them in the unconscious mind, like the hard drive of a computer, but it can go in there and pull these memories out, which it does each time that we have a sensory experience, and it recreates the past of that kind of object in our mind, or what that object did to us in the mind. And we tend to then fix that object. If it caused you pain in the past, or it caused you pleasure in the past, and we think then that same object is going to always produce the same pleasure or pain, but it doesn't, because life changes and our mind changes. So that's part of the understanding of these aggregates and how we cling to them. They're the aggregates of clinging, because that's all we identify with. Our life is identified with our body going through all of its changes from a baby up to your current situation, and what your likes and dislikes have been all of your life. You might have had desires as a teenager to grow up and be something, and then that changed in various situations, and you change your profession once or twice, or even going to college, you decided to change what you want to study. And all these things are, have constantly changed in our life due to other causes and conditions. So that's all. To understand what you are now, actually, whatever your life is now, is a kind of a sum total of all the experiences we've been having, even from a child, because you might have had traumas as a child, certain things that are affecting you even still to this day. Let's say if you got an injury as a child and you're still having physical effects of that injury or that disease. So our current life is simply a sum total of all those prior experiences we've had. Even just 5 minutes ago, you might have done some 5 minutes ago that's still in your mind. And that's affecting our life. So That's an important aspect of understanding this and understanding how the mind gets caught and it clings to these things tightly, and it's hard to change them. It's hard to change our reactions to them. So I'm going to read these suttas, actually. I hope you're able to read them because they were on the attachment that I had sent out for the last 2 prior weeks. I didn't send it out this last week because I figured everybody would have them. Anyway, I'm going to read some of them. And so this is the Buddha giving talks. Those recluses and Brahmins, or people who regard the self in many diverse ways, they regard it as this body mass of the 5 aggregates of clinging, or as some one of these. Thus is the view it has come to the person to think, I am. So now, because you can remember all those things that you've been doing, you think that you are somebody. So this is, but it's a thought in the mind due to the clinging to these aggregates and how you can bring them back so easily. Now, when it comes to a person to think I am, then there comes the descent of the 5 feeling faculties of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. Consciousness is the result. Mind states are the result. Delusion is the result. Touched by the feeling born of contact, tainted with delusion, there comes to be to the untrained person the view I am. So, owing to a cause comes the conceit I am. Conceit in this means is the word mana, which means just the thought of I am. It's not conceited like we normally use the word in English, oh, that person is conceited, although it does mean that, but even just thinking you are somebody is covered by that term mana, or conceit, the conceit I am. So it comes through a cause, and that cause is identifying with these form, feeling, perceptions, volitions, and consciousness, since you were a young child. It's not a permanent feature of your consciousness, but it's being recreated each time. And that's what's very important to understand. That's how we can more easily understand the term or idea about no self. And what is the cause of this conceit I am? It's owning to the body, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. It comes, not otherwise. And here's a little analogy. Suppose that a person, a young woman or a young man, fond of their self-adornment, somebody that puts on earrings and makeup and combs their hair and wants to wear nice clothing. So they're fond of self-adornment, and they should gaze at the image of their face in a mirror that is clean and spotless, or in a bowl of clean water. That person would behold their image, and owing to a cause and not otherwise, this feeling of, that's me. You look in a mirror, that's me. But it's due to these, the forms that are arising that the mind is creating through its memory, and it's identifying that. So it's occurring, that cause it comes within your mind. We go on creating it. So even so, through the cause of the body, the feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness comes a conceit I am, not otherwise. Just as a dog tied with a leash to a strong stake or post, if the dog moves, he moves toward that stake or post. If he stands still, he stands near the post. If he sits down, he sits close to that post. If he lies down, he does so close to that post. Similarly, the uninstructed, unpracticed, ordinary person looks upon the body as, this is mine, I am this is myself. He looks upon the feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness as, this is mine, I am this is myself. These are the three ways we normally relate to ourself when we're talking about ourself. We think that this object is, this body is mine, this mind is mine. We say, I am this, I am a doctor, I am a lawyer, I am so-and-so, and this is myself. If he moves toward that self. He moves toward those five aggregates. If he stands, he sits and lies down near those aggregates. He does so close to these five aggregates of clinging. And just as a dyer or a painter with dye or paint, let's say a painter, most people are familiar with painting, not dyeing so much. So a painter with paint and a well-smoothed piece of canvas, they can reproduce the form of a woman or a man or an animal or any object, complete in every detail. So similarly, the unformed, untrained common person brings body into existence, brings feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness into existence by grasping and clinging to them, or grasping and clinging to the memories of them that are brought forward to the present moment. And then there was a person, a monk, the Venerable Radha, said to the Buddha, Lord, a being, one is called a being, because they call us human beings, right? So why do they call us human beings? So the Buddha had a very nice answer to them. A being, one is called, because if a being is caught and held fast by that desire, that attachment, that lust, that infatuation, that delight, that craving for the body and sense objects, for feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, therefore one is called a being. Just as when little boys or little girls are playing with mud pies or things like that. This was in the time of the Buddha, before they had dolls, all toy wagons and all that, mud pies. But, you can use contemporary objects for that, When little boys or girls are playing with their toys. As long as they have attachment to those and are getting excitement from them, they're not rid of desire, affection, thirst, and craving for those toys, then so long do they delight in them. They are amused by them, value and cherish them. But as soon as those little boys and girls are rid of that attachment, outgrow that infatuation for them, then that former attachment and desire, affection, thirst, excitement, and craving for those toys, only then they gradually stop playing with them. And they might, scatter them by hand and foot. In the same way, Radha, the Buddha is telling him, stop playing with these five aggregates of clinging. Scatter them. Practice so as to end the craving and attachment for them. Indeed, Radha, the end of craving is Nibbana. So we all have the experience. We all had toys when we were young, right? But at a certain age, you started losing. You're riding on a toy horse, right? I mean, I had one. I remember, for Christmas when I was 4 or 5 years old, I got a toy horse or a little wagon. We used to play with them for a while, right? But then at some point, you lose interest in that. The same way as we interest to everything. We throw it in the closet and then never see it again. So the mind outgrows its things because it gets attracted to other things. And then we form attachment to those other things. And then those also change. Anyway, whatever people remember a number of their former lives, they all remember one or another of the five aggregates, saying, in the past I had this kind of body. And thus remembering it's just the body remembers. In the past I had this sort of feeling, this sort of perception, this sort of mental formation, this sort of consciousness. Thus remembering it as just these aggregates they remember. And then another, and why, monks, is it said to be body? It's afflicted, therefore it is called body. Afflicted by what? It's afflicted by cold, afflicted by heat, afflicted by hunger and thirst, afflicted by coming into contact with gnats, fleas, mosquitoes, the wind, the sun, snakes. It's afflicted, therefore it is called body. And that was the definition of those days, rupa. Rupa was something that could be pounded and beaten and broken and manipulated. So that's why it was called body. And why is it called feeling? It is felt. Therefore it is called feeling. What is felt? Pleasure is felt. Pain is felt. Neutral feeling is felt. It is felt. Therefore it is called feeling. And why is it called perception? It is perceived. Therefore, it's called perception. What is perceived? Blue is perceived, yellow is perceived, white is perceived, sweet and sour are perceived. Therefore, it is called perception. And why are they called mental formations? Because they determine or activate that which is formed. Therefore, they are mental formations. And what is the form they activate? They activate the body in all of its different movements. It activates the arm to lift up, the head to turn to the right or the left, to look up, and any other body action. They activate feeling in the nature of feeling. They activate perception in its perceptual nature. That means the mind's ability to turn vibrations into objects. Now close your eyes and you're listening to this voice and the idea that Bhante Rahula is talking. So that is the mind remembering the sound of this voice, identifying with Bhante Rahula or anything else, and it's recreating that in the mind. And you either like it or you dislike it. That's also being recreated in the mind by these mental formations, perceptions. And why is it called consciousness? It cognizes. Therefore, it's called consciousness. So then the Buddha kind of, in this last one, he says, monks, the well-instructed disciple thus reflects, I am the prey of these five aggregates of grasping now. In the past, I was also prey to them. Should I now continue to be deluded, enticed, lured, infatuated, and cling to them, then in the future time I shall also continue to be prey to them, just as I am now, because of my infatuation and clinging and not understanding them in the past. Thus reflecting, the noble disciple is freed from desire and enticement by them. They are freed and they are ripe for the dispassion and non-attachment for their present body and sense objects, for present feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. They are apt for turning away from them, from clinging to them. Therefore, monks, every body or sense object, every feeling, every perception, every mental formation, every moment of consciousness, be it inward or outward, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, past, present, or future, I say every single one of them should be regarded as this is not mine, I am not this is not myself, as it really is by perfect insight. Regarding rightly in this way, in this body having consciousness and in all external conditions, there comes to be no tendency to the conceit, I and mine, concerning these 5 elements of a being. And now so that's quite a mouthful, but these are actually ways that we use to think about them. Even in meditation, to think. Go back to all the ways that in your present life, thinking how much suffering and worry and fear it was caused by your clinging and attachment, to these aggregates, to your body, physical body, to the feelings, perceptions, volitions, and consciousness. Fighting with others, fighting with your own family members, and just the worry and fear and agitation. Just think about it. It's very powerful. Most people don't think about it, but when you actually think about it and meditate on it, it goes deeper. And this is called the development of wisdom. Now I'm going to read one last little section describing these. These 5 aggregates are not something which can be physically or mentally pulled apart and exist independently. They arise more or less simultaneously in each sense experience and are blended together in what is called the mind moment. Each individual factor is difficult to distinguish, but they can be to some extent by bare attention and keen awareness. Because this 5-fold mass sense experience arises seemingly as a whole unit and not perceived moment by moment in its fleeting nature, most people take to be the consciousness as being a stable self-owned activity or a stable flowing activity. But actually, those moments of consciousness are rising and passing away moment by moment, like a motion picture reel of film is just a whole sequence of individual frames being flashed quickly through a movie projector. And so they mistake it as being their self or their soul. They fail to see its true nature as being devoid of any type of individual, substantial, non-changing self-nature. The 5 aggregates were taught and explained by the Buddha for the purpose of easy apprehension and understanding in the order as follows. The material vibration, which is gross, is the objective field of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And after that arises feeling, which feels that material vibration as desirable or undesirable. Then perception arises, which remembers the aspects of that feeling, what it meant to one in the past, whether it's painful or not, whether they like it or not. Then arise the mental formations and mind-made concepts, which form volitionally through the means of perception. And last, there is consciousness, which these things, beginning with feeling, have as their support, which is dominant over them. Now, again, this is quite, it's difficult to understand on an intellectual level. That's why they cannot be understood unless one pretty much practices mindfulness, and especially the vipassana sort of method of mindfulness. It directly tunes the mind in to the moment to moment, gets grounded in the present moment, and then can more clearly see. It has some detachment to be able to just watch the body sitting and watch the mind thinking. Then you can understand these more or less. But these five aggregates, actually, in my own experience as a young monk, I learned about these the first year I was a monk, and I was fascinated with this concept of them, and I used that as, my main focus of meditation for the last, 50 years. And I even wrote the book, Breaking Through the Self-Delusion, which is a very detailed analysis and breakdown of these aggregates using many of the things that I've been discussing here and how to meditate on them. Anyway, so I'm going to stop with this kind of explanation of them, these sutras. And now I want to open it up to any questions that you might have based on any of that. So if anybody has any questions that might have come up during any of that or in your readings, feel free to ask some question. You can raise the gold hand if you want.
Hi, Bhante.
Hello, Ishira.
Yeah, hi, Bhante. Yeah, it's actually not a question regarding to today's discussion because I couldn't participate for Monday's Zoom session about equanimity. Is there any way, because I realized that I missed it, so is there any way that I can listen to it via YouTube?
Well, I'm not sure because that would have been recorded by I wasn't hosting that
Okay.
program. So I was just a participant, like you're a participant right now here. So I didn't control the recordings. I imagine they would have, but you would have to somehow, I don't know if you can go to their website. It's the Buddhist Sangha Council. Maybe I could find out.
Okay.
I'll try to find out from the people who organize it about that.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Now, the reason why these five aggregates are more difficult to understand, because you can only really understand them once you have built up the perception of impermanence by practicing vipassana and opening up to the flow of, from moment to moment, of the body sensations, feelings, and observing how quickly the mind is producing perceptions and thoughts. Only when you see how quickly and how intricate they are, then only then actually when you start to get a clear insight into the nature of them. And especially how they cause you suffering and how they create the illusions, especially the illusion of self. Dragon Yogi, you have a question?
Yes, Bhante. I've been practicing quite a bit with the form, feeling, perception, volitional formation, and consciousness, the senses. And through it, I've been going with the not me, not mine, not myself, also the impermanence.
Yes.
But I've been doing it like in labeling and noting. What are your thoughts on that?
Labeling and noting is useful in the beginning,
Okay.
so that you are clear as to the function of each of those. But once you've developed a stronger concentration, there's no need to do noting anymore because it becomes more clear. The reason why you have to note is because the mind is muddled, and it's not clear as to the function of each. But once you've done it enough, that it becomes what is called reflective knowledge, and you see them clearly, and understand the function of each one of those.
I noticed that sometimes it would starts to clear up a little bit where I don't have to note, it's just being aware.
Yeah, it's just the awareness itself. That's right.
And lately it's starting to slip away from the noting and labeling and more of like, okay, present moment and what's going on right here in present moment.
Yeah, that's a more advanced level, yes.
Okay.
Because even the noting and labeling is a kind of mental activity.
Okay.
But it's the same way. If you want to memorize something, there's spelling, right? Let's say when you were younger, you had to memorize spelling. You had to consciously do that, right? You had to take the first few letters and repeat them and then add some more and more. And you had to keep telling yourself how to spell it, right?
Yes.
But then once you've learned it, you don't have to think about it. You just say it. You kind of know how it is. You can write it out without having to think about it. It's like tying your shoes or anything else. Once you've learned any type of habit, you don't have to think about it anymore. But when you're learning it, it requires thinking and practice because that's the way the mind learns.
Mm-hmm. You have to keep practicing too.
Yes, you have to keep it up because the mind forgets.
Mm-hmm. Also, I found out too in doing this too also gives you an opportunity to use the 4 foundations of mindfulness.
That's right, because it's oriented around these 5 aggregates. A lot of people miss that fact,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Licking my chops. Thank you, Bhante.
No, you're right. Every meditation should be like a scientist going to the laboratory, and every time they go in the laboratory, they learn something new about the experiment. So they're in a hurry to get back to the laboratory. They want to see what's next, right? They want to see what that molecule or atom is going to do next. What it's going to do. So the same way, we want to see what kind of tricks Mara is going to try to play on us. So it's a challenge. That's how you have to treat meditation, not just sit down, watch the breath, and in and out, in and out. Okay, wow. That's it. No.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation gets boring if that's all you're doing it for. But you have to develop that interest. That's what the piti means, interest, and the joy and the energy comes from the investigation. The 7 factors of enlightenment. That's the most important aspect of the mindfulness of 4 foundations of mindfulness, is that aspect in Dhammanupassana where you're cultivating the 7 factors of enlightenment. Mindfulness. First, you have to be mindful of each thing coming along. Then you investigate. What is this? What is feeling? What is perception? How does it trap me? How am I got trapped? How do I get fooled by these things? What is consciousness? You use the Buddha's instructions on it. And then you're doing that. And as you say, you get, that brings insights to you. So you get excited. You get energy. Most people fail to get that far, unfortunately.
Well, I wish everybody Nibbana. More Dhamma, less drama.
Right.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, Mr. Odiana, you have another question?
Yeah, Bhante. The way I understood the 5 aggregate is in that sequence, it vibrates, right? The Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, in that order, I was thinking. So what I'm thinking is how a blind person or a person who's, say, deaf, So they don't have the vibration of the first one. Can they still achieve the other parts of the like vinyana or whatever?
Now they have vibration through the ears. Blind person may not be able to see, so they're not receiving vibration through the eyes, but they're receiving vibrations through the ear, the smell, the tongue, and even the body. If you pinch a blind person, they're going to feel that. So they still have vibrations coming through, and they still can, but the sight is cut off. So they have an advantage in that regard that our eye is our strongest sense. We have the strongest craving to see things. We're always wanting to look at everything, right? You're not always wanting to hear everything, but we're always wanting to look at everything. And so if a person is blind, they're not distracted so much. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I was just trying to see what your explanation of that one. Yeah, makes sense. So it's not going to stop them from achieving other, getting other vibrations, right? I mean, may
No,
not be perfect,
it
but
shouldn't.
getting.
As far as I know, I'm not blind, so I can't say, but I think blind people can hear quite well. They can smell and taste and feel. They might not be able to understand what the objects are so well, but of course they learn. They have Braille and they can learn through those things too.
They can overcome
They
the
learn through
shortage.
touch. They can feel things. So their senses of touch become very, very more pronounced. Their other senses get heightened. So they can probably see, they can probably hear better than most people, or smell, because that energy that would have been going through their eyes now all gets all more focused on their other senses.
Yeah.
And especially the sense of touch. They've actually taken the blind people to museums, and the blind people will touch an object like a head or something, and it's incredible how they can identify what objects are through just a sense of touch and so on. They even touch their own nose. They okay, I have a long nose, got this, or whatever.
Thank you, Bhante.
Any other questions? Did you have another question, Dragon Yogi?
Well, about the self-identity and how this all wraps around the self.
Mm-hmm.
And how we get ourselves into dukkha because of the self. And when you shared earlier about the dukkha, anatta, anicca.
Yes. Anicca, dukkha, and anatta.
And you can see all of this Dharma wisdom rolling out here with these last few talks.
Our whole life revolves around ourselves. Everything that you do during the day is about your life, your self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the things that you want to do, avoiding the things that you don't like to do. Mm-hmm. And anybody that has differences of opinion or ideas about what you like or what you think is right or wrong, you can see the mind clinging to that. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm right, or that person is wrong. So you're identifying with these other beings. You're creating a being out of them, rather than just see them as the five aggregates. And then you get attached, and then you suffer. But especially the self. Oh, I'm feeling sad. I'm this. We're always repeating that word. How many times does the mind repeat that word in one day? Probably thousands. Not verbally, maybe, but as a thought in your mind, as a relationship in your mind.
Mm-hmm. That all experiences are I, me, mine.
Yeah, that's That's the whole point. After all those sutras about the aggregates, he said these aggregates should be regarded as this is not me, this is not I, mine, or myself.
When we
They're
get to
just
the part,
they're aggregates. They're just conditioned phenomena.
sometimes when we get to the part where I get to the part where it's not me, not mine, not myself, impermanent, unsatisfactory, soulless, no self. And I get I don't really get the unsatisfactory part. I get
The clinging is the unsatisfactory
okay.
part.
All right.
And because they're impermanent.
Okay.
They're unsatisfactory because we have to go on wanting something else all the time. We always become dissatisfied because the objects that we have are changing, and then we always need something more to get stimulated. That's the whole point. And we're dependent on the outside world for our happiness. We all identify with that. Instead of learning how to be content with the present moment, just in the present moment awareness, where there's no worries and no fear and no like or dislike, when the mind is grounded in the present moment. When you experience that, you realize how we've been conned and tricked by our mind into thinking that happiness comes from the outside. That's the whole point. When you have that experience, then the rest is easy. But it's coming to that deep experience, and that usually only happens in meditation or having meditated, and then something might trigger off these intuitive flashes even during the daily, during a waking state or a daily occurrence.
Well, I know one of the practices that you helped me with was, I know I used to always think that thinking was an I thing. That I was thinking. These are my thoughts. And remember you saying you average, 20 to 60,000 thoughts a day? And every day, usually it's the same thoughts.
Well, they're repetitive, yeah.
Repetitive thoughts. And when I started thinking about that, I was like, wow, that's true. And then you see which ones really stick and which don't. And you kind of go, these are all really like stories.
It is.
Tell ourselves
that we believe them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like you're like the philosopher René Descartes, the French philosopher. His main thing was, I think, therefore I am. So he thinks because he's thinking that he has got a self or something. But the Buddhist reply would be, I think, therefore I think I am.
Yeah.
So we think ourselves into believing that we are. Not that we are because we think. We are because we think we are.
One of your great teachers mentioned this. It was about existence. Bhante Punjaji.
Right.
About we think that we exist.
Yeah. Every day when you wake up in the morning, the mind is just bringing up the past, remembering that all these feelings. Or this is me that's getting up now. This is me that has to go to work, or me that's going to do this or that. Me that likes to have this and that for breakfast, or whatever. It's all right to. We use these words in English. And we can use them, but not to be deluded by them, as long as we're not deluded by them.
That's the difficulty.
And that whenever we do something foolish or even hurt ourselves, we can laugh. Ha, ha, ha. I tripped and stumbled. I was unmindful. I tripped over and broke my arm. Ha, 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 laugh. Don't blame anybody else. Blame yourself. Mm-hmm. Blame, unmindfulness instead of blaming a person or something like that, It's all because of ignorance and conditioning. That's it. Now, some people think that's a pessimistic way of looking. Now, it could be, but it's also very realistic, and it also brings a lot of joy because now you're not taking yourself too seriously. People take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And
Yes, sometimes we just have to get out of the way of life.
yes. Okay, I think we will
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
bring this
Gratitude and appreciation. Thank you.
discussion to an end. And in case I forget it later, I wanted to say that next week there's a visiting monk who has come from India. He's an Indian monk, and he's he's one of my students, a monk disciple. Actually, the only person I've ordained as a monk. And he's now he's staying with me for 3 months. And he was also a professor of chemistry, and he's written a book about the brain and meditation and things like that. And I'm going to ask him to actually give a talk on this Zoom program to you all about the brain and its influence on meditation and the mind and so on. Because that he wrote a book on that subject. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that in case I forget to do that. Okay, so let's take a short break for a couple minutes and then come back and do some breathing and stretching and then sit for our meditation. Okay? So you stand straight, relax your arms at the side, gently close your eyes. First of all, just feel your feet pressing the floor. That earth vibration, feet pressing the floor. And you let the awareness kind of slowly move upwards to the body. Feel the straight legs over your feet. Feel the clothing touching the skin of your legs. And feeling your hands and fingers. Feel your whole pelvic region. Feel the weight of the arms hanging from the side. Feel the stomach and chest area. Clothing touching the stomach or chest. And feel the head balanced on top. Feel the eyes and the sockets. From that point on the eyes, feel the outline of the whole body. And begin some deep, slow breathing. After breathing in, hold the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds. Slowly let out the breath, feeling the last bit of air go out. Cultivating this basic mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. I will combine this breathing with these movements. So on the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch your head back, stretch upwards, feel the sensations. In the out-breath, release your hands, and out-breath, arms back to the sides. Feel the last bit of air go out. And again, in-breath, stretch up, bend back a little bit. Feel the arch in the spine, feel the sensation. Out breath, feel the last bit of air go out. Once more. In. Stretch up, bend back a little more. Out breath. Feel the last bit of air go out as the arms come down. Close the eyes. Just feel the increased body sensation, vibrations, the material vibration, heart beating, blood pulsing, clothing touching the skin, tingling sensation. Those are all the material vibrations, the body You might be producing pleasant sensations or painful sensations. Letting go of your thought. And the next in breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the hands over the head, facing the hands toward each other, stretch up. Out breath, come back down, feel the last bit of air go out as the arms come down. Again, in breath, feel the air come in as you raise the arms up. Stretch. Out. Once more. Remember standing, standing. No, what are you doing? This is your technical.
You better be running low. You need to plug it in.
It's I don't know why this is.
Where'd you plug it in?
Go get the. We're having a technical issues. And next we'll do side bending on the in breath. Raise the hands over the head. The out breath, bend over the right side. In breath, lift up. And the left side, out breath. Can anybody out there hear me in Zoom land?
Yes,
You can? Okay.
yes.
Clearly. I'm having some technical difficulties here. Oh, here we go. Now I got the picture back. Okay, can you see the picture out there?
Not yet, Bhante.
No?
Yeah, we can
Now we
see it.
can. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yes, Bhante, we can see it.
Okay, I'm going to continue to do some yoga. Probably. Okay, friends, I hope we're back on online now. Sorry about that interruption. So we'll try to do just a few more, just a couple more exercises. So we'll just do the backward and forward bending. Face the palms outward. On the in-breath, raise the arms up. And spread the arms out to the sides as you bend back. The in-breath, carefully lift up. Keep the arms out at the sides. On the out-breath, lower the arms and hands down to the floor. And keep your legs straight. And begin standing up. And turn the palms outward. In-breath, raise the hands up. The out-breath, arms out to the sides. In-breath, lift up. Out-breath, downward stretch. Once more, lifting up, in-breath. Out-breath. In-breath, lift up. Out-breath. Standing up, in-breath, hands together at the chest. Out-breath, hands to the sides. Feel the whole body. Now we'll do one last exercise, turning the head from right to left. On the in-breath, turn your head to the right. Look over your right shoulder. On the out-breath, turn all the way back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In-breath, back to the right. Out to left. Once more to each side. On the in-breath, let the head stop in the middle. Feel the whole body. Feel the increased life force vibration. Okay. So now let's come back to our seats, get ready for the sitting. Okay, Francis, get comfortable in your sitting posture. Start to sit with your straight back and the head, back of the head and spine in a straight line. Keep your chin lifted up level with the floor. Start to sit like a pyramid. The top of the pyramid, the point of the pyramid being your head, and the knees coming down to the knees. If you're sitting on the floor, just mentally feel your head balanced on top. Just feel your eyes in the socket. Feel your face, the skin of the face stretched over the skull. From that point in the head, start to feel the outline of the whole body, the arms at the sides, the hands touching together, straight spine, the buttocks pressing the seat, the legs tucked underneath with the feet press the floor. See if you can try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Just keep reminding yourself, sitting, and begin some deep, slow breathing. After breathing in, hold the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds. Feel that oxygenation of the blood going out to all the cells. And just imagine that. On the out breath, feel the last bit of air go out to the lungs. And then the next in breath, just take several more deep breaths like that, developing this mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath a second. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count our breaths from 1 to 10 to try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration. So at the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath a second. And with the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out. The next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. In 8. Out 8. In 9. Out 9. In 10. Out 10. Now as the last breath goes out, just let there be a little pause before the next in breath. Just let the breath come back in by itself without controlling it. Keep your attention focused on the residual expanding and contracting sensation. Especially try to feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of your abdomen or stomach, rib cage or chest as it expands and contracts. Just making that the main focus of your concentrated mindfulness. Just feeling the whole expanding sensation from beginning to end, and the brief pause. The whole contracting sensation from beginning to end, and the brief pause. You can use these brief mental reminders to help stay focused. Just sitting, out, out, sitting, sitting, out, out, sitting. The pauses between the breaths, feel the outline of the sitting body, feel the subtle vibration. Try to keep the outline of the sitting body, breathing body in the mind's eye. Feel the breathing within the larger sitting body. In, sitting. Out, out, sitting. Breath by breath. Moment by moment, letting go of your thought. Just let your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind, keeping the outline of the breathing body in the front of the awareness. Just feeling those different earth vibrations, material vibrations of the sitting body. Clothing touching the outer skin, the air element of the breath going in and out. In, sitting, out, out, sitting. Just try to understand that this body is just comprised of those elemental vibrations, the earth vibration, water vibration, fluid vibration, the movement vibration, the heat vibration, All those vibrations are just billions of atoms, molecules, and cells tightly packed together, interacting with each other, keeping this body alive. You can use that as your factor of enlightenment, investigation of Dhamma. What is this body? It's just atoms, molecules, cells, tightly packed together, producing feelings of solidity, fluidity, temperature, and motion. Just try to develop that sense of it's just material vibration. Some of those vibrations might feel unpleasant or painful. Some of them might feel pleasant. Others are just neutral sensation. It's the aggregate of sensation. So you have vibrations producing these pleasant, painful, or neutral sensations. That's the connection between the two aggregates of vibrations and sensation. They're not separate, really. There's no vibration without sensation, no sensation without vibration. And you might identify some body part. If you identify your hand as just a perception, a mental picture generated by vibrations and sensations on that part of the body, call it my hand, or my feet, or my head, or even your breathing. These are just mental words, perception created out of vibrations and sensation. Then thoughts about those body parts, or any sounds might come into the mind. That's the mental formation, either liking or disliking other thoughts. And even the thought of yourself meditating is the ego consciousness, or the ability to feel all those other things is the consciousness. All those five aggregates arise together with each moment of contact. With each in-breath they arise. When the in-breath stops, they cease. And the out-breath starts, they arise again. They cease. The sounds coming through your ears are just also hearing vibration. You recognize and think about those. And see if you can just contemplate this continual move and change of these five aggregates. In each moment of feeling, hearing, even thinking. Don't see it as yourself, just the aggregate, impersonal element, body-mind phenomenon. Especially be alert to the unpleasant or painful body sensation and really grab your attention. How you identify those unpleasant sensations as happening to some part of this body. This body belongs to me. See if you can observe that in your mind. catch yourself lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost. Take a deep breath, come back into the body. Breath by breath, moment by moment. Just turn up the power of the mental microscope to notice more and subtler vibrations, sensations, perceptions, thoughts arising and vanishing. Just try to understand that there's no permanent owner or somebody who's doing all that in your mind, controlling that mental process. It happens all by itself. Body breathes by itself, ears hear by itself, thoughts think by themselves, feelings feel by themselves. Are you asking any of it to happen? No, it happens by itself. Even your thoughts just arise through past habit. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many material vibrations, sensations constantly coming and going and changing. Perceptions, thought, consciousness coming and going in their nature of constant impermanence, change, following their habits of conditioning. This is the vision of a Vipassana meditator. It's all those five aggregates just coming and going, arising and vanishing through the space of awareness. And if you have a good awareness of impermanence and detachment, just try to feel like being an empty house with nobody home to answer the call, knocking on the doors and windows. But there's a sensitive microphone in the house that knows, which is the natural awareness. Sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukhi Yesamago Visuddhya Nati Janam Apanyacha Panyanati Ajaitu Yam Hi Jananja Panyacha Siri Nibbana Santiki. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They they arise to just briefly last, then vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with self-created suffering. This is the path to freedom. And there's no meditation without wisdom, no wisdom without meditation. One who both meditates and is wise is close to peace and freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now mindfully place your hands at the edge of the knees. Take one more deep breath, stretch your head back. Pull the hands on the knees to arch your spine backward. And lift the head up on an in-breath. On the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebra. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. And relax on the out-breath. Now I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. So take a deep breath. Sadhu. Breathe. Sadhu. Breathe. Sadhu. Okay, friends, so this brings our evening Dhamma discussion and meditation to an end. I hope you're all able to have some periods of some good mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. See how quickly those aggregates arise, change, vanish. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, next week on this Zoom program. There'll be a visiting monk, a Venerable Bhante Ananda from India. He's going to be giving a talk on sort of the brain and the mental process, or how the brain affects meditation, and the mind operates through the brain. And so tune in next week for that. Okay?
Yes,
Bhante, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
gratitude,
Mm.
compassion, and appreciation. Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu,
Be
sadhu.
well, be safe, be mindful, be wise.
Thank you,
Namo
Bhante.
Buddhaya.
Namo
Namo
Buddhaya.
Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya Sangha.